This is the notes video for your prefixes for vocab list 2. Dis, diff, die, which means opposite from or away when you add them to a word, and D, which means apart or not. Something to notice about this list and the previous list is that there are similar definitions. So the prefix a and ab also mean opposite from or away. So now we're just adding dis, diff, and die in there as well. You might recognize some patterns in this and words that you already know that have these prefixes. But we're still kind of focusing on things that have an opposite meaning or suggest the opposite or the undoing or an opposite direction of. Some of the base words, these aren't word families, these are just base words that you might know in our new list, are merit, which means accomplishment or achievement, fuse, which means merge or connect together, verge, which means the place where things meet. So in demerit and diffuse and diverge, we've added a prefix to those base words to make them mean the opposite, and you'll notice that when we write down the definitions. Additionally, some suffixes that you're going to see. Remember, suffixes come at the end of a word. Quality, suffixes like ity or just the straight up y make something mean the quality of. So, funny is the quality of being fun, funnily enough. Activity, in that case, it's a noun. Quality is a noun. The activity is the quality of being active. An act or task, the suffix ate or eate means that something is being acted out. So these are our words, and let's start writing them. You're going to need the vocab note sheet. Sorry, we're not writing them yet, but you will need your vocab note sheet, so grab that if you haven't yet. So again, our prefixes are on the left here. We've got our word families and our suffixes in the middle here. And when we add those things together, we don't even need one of each of them, but when we add those things together, then we get the words on our list. So let's look at one example. The very last word on our list is divergent. This should be going up a little further, but it comes from die, which means opposite from or away. And it comes from, wow, Miss Matthews, you got typos here. Hold on. Okay, quick change here. So it means away or the opposite, die. Verge means a meeting place or a place where things meet. So we've got the away or the opposite of a meeting place, and your suffix ent means it's a description. Doesn't mean that the word description is in the definition. It just means your definition indicates that something is a description, like different or absent. These are all descriptions. So now let's take our actual notes. The first word is demure. You could pause and write down all of these, or you could write as I explain them, or you could pause at the end of me explaining them and then write them in, but fill in your notes. Demure is pronounced demure. It's an adjective that means reserved, modest, or shy. The students were afraid and demure, so they did not ask for help. And I think your notes actually have, the students were too demure to ask the difference between demure and demur. Demur is another word that you'll see coming up here. Demerit is a noun, means a mark against, a lost point, or a deduction. Howard was good at many things, but got demerits for his behavior. Demerits. Demur. So this one is demur, not demure. Demur is a verb. It has nothing to do with demure, funnily enough. It means to express refusal or doubt, like Lisa demurred when her parents encouraged her to join a sport. She refused. No way. Absolutely not. Demur. Depravity. Another form of the word depravity is depraved. If you think something is full of chaos, you might say it's depraved. But depravity is like the condition of moral corruption. It was depravity that the students threw a food fight at lunch. Or a room full of 5-year-olds might lead to depravity in a big mess. Deride. Deride. Deride is a verb. It means to express disapproval or strong disagreement. Kind of like demur. We've got some synonyms here. I usually deride most of my little brother's ideas because they are immature. I disapprove. I disagree. I deride. Deriding is different than demurring, or in the sense that it's a little bit more extreme. So someone who's giving you a really hard time, you might say is deriding you. Other forms are derision, which is the act of deriding, and derisive, which means something is going to cause a lot of strong disagreement. Next up is dissent. This is decent, not decent. Decent means good or appropriate. Descent is a lower elevation, a downward movement. It was time to make a descent down the hill we just hiked up. Descent. So you could actually be moving down. Other forms would be descendant, like someone who comes after you, like a descendant of mine might be my great-great-grandchildren someday. And descend is when you are doing that movement. So you make a descent or you descend down the hill. Differentiate has different in it. So that's a good clue here. To indicate or point out a difference. It might be difficult to differentiate identical twins at first. It might be difficult to tell them apart. Other forms are differentiation, which is something that you might do if you have multiple preferences or interests or skill levels. If you were opening a restaurant, you might have some differentiation on your menu to draw more people in who have different taste preferences. And then there's a differential. A differential is like a report on the differences or the changes. Diffident means you're lacking self-confidence, timid, or shy. You might be diffident and demure. I have diffidence about raising my hand in class. What if I'm wrong? I have some diffidence. That's the other form. Last 3 words, we have diffuse. Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. Diffuse. It has a S sound, not a Z sound. I often mispronounce diffuse as diffuse, which has an entirely different meaning. Diffuse means to pour out or cause to spread. If we look back to our word families, or our base words, fuse means to merge or connect. Diffuse means to pour out. It's the opposite of merging or connecting. The colonizing Europeans worked to diffuse their ideas around the Americas. They wanted to spread their ideas, their traditions. This act is called diffusion. You're probably going to hear this most commonly in your education in a science class or biology class when you start talking about diffusion. It's a scientific term too. Distinguish is kind of like differentiate. It means to notice a difference, to mentally separate, to tell something apart. Maria's case was adorned in her distinguished style. It's unique to her. You can look at it and know that it's Maria's. Distinguished is an adjective. It could also be a verb if if you told something apart or identified something. Distinguishable means it's standout. It's able to be identified. Let's go back to divergent. Divergent, which we said comes from, oops, hold on, I did it wrong again. It comes from again, Miss Matthew. Die, DI, meaning apart or not. And I am doing apart or away in this case because verge is a meeting place. And so I feel like apart kind of connects more to meeting place and verge. And then end, characterized by. So we have away from meeting, and it needs to be a description. So what is our definition? That one was supposed to disappear. Characterized by, that's where our definition, that ent comes in. Characterized by straying from what is normal or expected. So when things are normal or expected, it's kind of where we meet. It's where we merge our ideas. If you're going against that, you are being divergent, or you are divergent, or you're diverging. The jury had divergent perspectives, so they took a very long time to reach a verdict. A jury is a group that meets, okay? Having divergent perspectives means that they have different opinions on the results of a case, so they are disagreeing. Another form is divert or diversion. A diversion is when you're trying to take someone else's attention away from something or distract them. And those are your vocab words.